Everybody. It's John Cox here with the Way Too Much JRMC podcast. Thanks for tuning back in with me. Here it is Sunday, July 3rd, around 4 o'clock. Pretty ridiculous. I'm sitting down here in my basement at 4 o'clock on a Sunday when I ought to be upstairs with my kids and stuff like that. But I spend no time with them. I'm going to spend a little time with you guys. So thanks a lot for joining me today. Again, this is the Way Too Much JRMC podcast. JRMC, that is me. I'm one of those 4 name guys. My mom was... she was smart enough to realize how awesome I was as a baby. She gave me 4 names: John Ross, Marcus Cox. So what's going on, everybody? During the show, like always, really appreciate you guys. If you like, share, subscribe, hit the reminder bell button on YouTube, all that good stuff. If y'all can officially find me now on the app, in the Apple Store, in the Google Podcast, and in Spotify. Pretty much any podcast directory that you use, you can find me in there. You just got to search Way Too Much JRMC, and you'll see my ugly head there. So we'll get that stuff out of the way here. Obviously, today we're going to be talking about the 4th of July. This is my favorite holiday of the year. Mostly because I'm a very patriotic person. For those of y'all watching, I always got my United States of America shirts on, or got something with a flag on it, or something patriotic in the background, something like that. You know what I mean? So obviously it's a very special holiday for me personally. Another reason I think it's very special to me is because it's also right around the time that football, specifically youth football, gets rolling. So I'm getting like a double dose of masculinity and a feeling of needing to get my mind right and come correct every day for my son and his young buddies and all my players and all that stuff. But so start off the podcast here. Just go ahead and just want to thank all of our men and women that are currently in the service, people that have served in the past, people that have died, been wounded, all that stuff. I'm not man or woman enough to wear your shoes, so just want to really say thank you, and hope you guys get the respect and all that you deserve. So just thank you guys. So with that being said, look, when I think of the 4th of July, first thing that comes to my mind, I just like to think about what words trying to start to focus on or whatever. But so when I think of 4th of July, first of all, I'm thinking freedom. You know what I mean? I'm thinking freedom, country, duty, honor, loyalty, values, hard work, bootstrapping, perseverance, family, God, Jesus. I'm thinking all that stuff. Jesus for me, but just God for the country. Everyone having the right to worship the, whoever the man is upstairs or woman upstairs or whatever it is. Just people having the freedom to practice their religion, practice their faith. Get down on a knee and tell someone thank you for all the wonderful things we have in our lives, all the bad things we have in our lives. I feel like human suffering, even though it's tough, I mean, it's, for some people, obviously it's worse than others, but it's it can be a beautiful thing. I feel like we're being prepared for something, for something in the future. And so we should take all those hard things that we go through and just be thankful that we get to be the ones experiencing them. And I know it can seem naive or whatever, but there is one other concept type thing that I have been stuck on for a couple years now when it comes to this, and it's really to me it really ties in with Independence Day, 4th of July, all that, and so there's a little kind of one of those circular type reference deals that I like to reference, and it goes like this: it says hard times create strong men. I think everybody can admit right now we're in hard times, so we should be thankful we get to be the ones to go through them, because it's going to create strong men. At some point in time, those strong men is going to create good times, because that's what strong men do. It's what strong ladies do. It's what good moms, good grandmas, good brothers and sisters, good dad. They create good times, right? Those good times then turn around and create weak men, and those weak men turn everything to shit and make us go through hard times, and then we're right back into hard times create strong men. So even though times in this country today seem awful and seem so contentious and heated, and everything's a huge debate, and everything's trying to force something on someone else and all that, at the end of the day, I always try to tell myself, God made me be born during this time for a reason. Like, because I think it, and I hope it's because he thinks hard times will create strong men, and he thinks that I have the ability to be a strong man and help bring those good times, to fruition. So, that's a circular reference. I reference to my football players and all my kids that I coach and my kids and all that. So I just think we have to roll with the punches and realize things are what they are, and we gotta keep moving forward. All that. So now getting back to 4th of July, Independence Day, as far as like America goes, when I say those words, freedom, country, duty, hard work, perseverance, family, God, yada, all that stuff, I realize it's really easy for people to think that you just got a super easy life, and I'm just, I'm a naive person, and I'm just thinking about it in this hunky-dory way, and all that. But here's the truth: when I think of those, when I say those words, and I think this is really the only way to to come out the mud and actually make something of yourself, is you have to admit what those words mean and how hard they are. That stuff is hard. Perseverance is hard. Hard work, hard. Being loyal is hard. Fulfilling your fatherly duties every day. Fulfilling your motherly duties. Like, that stuff is hard, man. Freedom, hard. Living out your values every single day is hard. Forcing yourself to get down your knees and pray to God at night, thank Him for all the good things in your life, thanking Him for all the bad things in your life. That's hard, right? I feel like those people that rise up out of the ashes in this country and probably everywhere do so because they embrace that hardness, right? They embrace the fact that I'm going to have to put in some sweat. I'm going to put in some sweat equity, some blood, sweat, tears. I'm going to have to do some uncomfortable stuff. I'm going to have to be the person that does everything that other people don't want to do. But I'm going to do all of it because I value freedom, country, duty, honor, loyalty, perseverance, family, God, faith, whatever it may be. That's why you do it. Okay, so that knowing the why thing, I think, is important. And yeah, so 4th of July for me, it's a day that where I really, or a week or whatever have you, where I really try to reflect and think about myself as a man and where I'm headed and where I've been, how I can improve, how I'm fulfilling my duties as an American, how I'm not. And so, I just think that I think it's important that we all do that. So yeah, for the first, I got a bunch of notes here, but for the last couple months, I've been trying to figure out why it seems like our society is just like hanging by a thread, right? I mean, it literally feels like at any moment the fit could hit the shan and it could all fall apart. And not just at times, most of the time. Every time I feel like I read an article, because I try to read stuff and watch stuff and listen to stuff from the other side of the political aisle. I don't like to get myself into pigeonhole myself into into like some echo chamber of ideas where I'm only hearing stuff that I already agree with. But for the most part, when I read stuff from people that I disagree with, I mean, it feels like I'm living in a parallel universe, like that we are living in different worlds, and there's no way to to reconnect them, and so it's like it feels like everything's inverted. I mean, so I think a lot of that is because we really have bought into this whole concept that culture should be downstream from politics, that we have to wait and see what politics say before we can determine our, how we're going to move forward as a culture. And I'm just a very ardent believer that politics should be downstream from culture. Culture should start at the top of the mountain, and then politics is that flows with where your culture's headed. And so, that being said, that can be a very scary proposition, because if your culture goes all out of whack, then what do you do? I don't mean, what I'm saying, if you don't have any kind of thing that you're gonna be that's gonna tie you together. So so it's like, with that being said, though, it's like, how do we? I mean, there's 320 million of us in this country. I think 350 million or something if we're including like illegal immigrants and undocumented workers, that all that stuff. I mean, how do we coexist and feel like, I don't think we're ever going to feel like we're living in harmony. And I don't, I personally, I don't deal well in very harmonic situations where everything's going good. My background, growing up in Southeast Kentucky with, my dad was never around, or was driving around drunk around the little town square, or dying of a drug overdose, all that. Like, I do better in chaotic situations, so like, I don't think that I would be able to survive if everything was just hunky dory, so I have no expectations of that. But it's like, how do we get back on track to where at least feel like we aren't going to like punch everybody in the chest and rip each other's hearts out. I mean, I feel like everybody's about to pull a Bruce Lee in one of those Bruce Lee movies and just punch me in the chest and rip my heart out and tell me, and just like let me lay on the street. That's what it feels like a lot of times whenever I'm reading things from the other side of the political spectrum, all that. So, it's like, how are we going to get back on and be able to coexist? Have we ever really coexisted? Maybe we haven't. I mean, we got issues like, let's think about, there's a few of these: abortion, gun rights, parental rights, government mandates, parental rights, environmentalism, mask, vaccines, religion, critical race theory, gender theory, men having babies, like, blah, blah, blah. I mean, like, all those issues, they're dividing us in a way that it seems like it's going to be impossible to overcome. And like, I think the biggest issue right now is we're all buying into this concept that we're just flying by the seat of our pants and waiting on the Supreme Court, or waiting on the president, or waiting on someone to tell us what to do, whenever it's not how any of this is supposed to work. All right, so in my opinion, albeit a very uneducated one and a very redneck one, and one that may or may not warrant any consideration, but hopefully there's some truth to it. 'Cause I do think if we focus on this we're about to talk about, we will get out of all this stuff a lot quicker, I believe. The only way that I think we can move forward is just getting back to basics, right? Like, instead of starting at talking about abortion and talking about gun rights, like, we got to get back to basics. I feel like we're those parents that are like thinking right now, all Americans, we're those parents that are thinking about putting money in the kids' college fund. Just dumping money into their college fund or whatever, but we're not reading to our kids at night. We're those parents that think that we should be our kids' friends, or that kids don't like boundaries and we should listen to our children and we should let them have a say in things. Or, I just feel like we're like the fundamentals, the basics. America's just not good at them right now. I don't think we know what the hell the basics are. And myself included. And I have a degree in history, so I majored in history, and like, I've always been a patriotic person and loved America. And but it's like, even as a history major and someone who has loved history since I was a child, I've started to realize I never really focused on the basics and the framework and the fundamental documents and the words that were put on paper. I focused on learning about the executive branch or the judicial branch or the legislative branch and the checks and balances, all that. But it's like I've never really dug into the concept of, okay, but what framework are all three of those branches of government working within? Like, what is it they're determining? What's their purpose? Like, it's like we all just sit around and think the government can do whatever the heck it wants to do, and then they just fight it out, and then we, sit back and wait, and whatever they tell us to do, we either complain about it or we agree with it, and we're happy that it's, or whatever. And so it's really feel like to move forward, we got to get back to basics, do some boring stuff. I mean, guys, I don't know how y'all feel about this, but I'm a football coach, and one of my favorite things about football is that by the time you get to the game, by the time you're about to suit up for the game, you won or lost in the past, like at least at the soonest in the past week. But most likely, if you lose that game, you lost it in the summer. You lost it because you didn't teach your kids how to get into a good 3-point stance and understand leverage and how to use their legs and how to move kids that are bigger than them, or you didn't condition enough, you didn't run, you didn't get acclimated to the heat, and so now you're going there to play, and your adrenaline can only get you so far. And you got a great game plan, you got fancy uniforms and a great looking play sheet, and you got your headphones on as a coach and your brand new polo, but you didn't do the work. That's what I love about football. Now there's times, yes, you just get your butt beat and people are better than you. All right, but in my opinion, I didn't get beat. You lost, but you didn't get beat. Getting beat when you beat yourself and you don't prepare and you don't do what you can. You didn't put it on the line for your brothers, and in whether it be in arms or on the football field or your family, whatever. But that's football. It's the one sport you cannot just go out there and wing it. You can't just. It's not 5-on-5. It's 11-on-11, and it's gladiator style stuff. Whereas basketball, you can go out there and you got one superstar that can dunk, and the other 9 can't. All right, you still win the game. Or baseball, you got that one dominant pitcher, but you ain't hitting real well. But your pitcher's dominating. You can still win that. You can still win that game. In football, you got to bring it all together, right? My other thing I love about this is just a sidebar. As a coach, I love football because I don't even care about the games. If it were up to me, we wouldn't even play them. We just practice. And I try to live my life that way right now. And every single day, it's I don't even think about the big things. I try to enjoy the work. I try to enjoy the arguments with Whitney. Right, the screaming matches I get in with my kids. I try to enjoy those things. And I try to be in the moment because when I sit and think about it, I'm I don't have any instances in my life where I fought with my father because he didn't give a damn enough about me to even fight me on anything. We never argued over playing Monopoly. So to me, that's the beauty of life is those, is the sludge work, the grunt work, the shift work, getting them, like my stepdaddy says, I got to get my hours in, he's trying to get his hours. He wants them 80 hours a week so he can, but he likes it. My stepdad, he loves that. He don't need anybody paycheck. He likes to work. He likes to get on that mountain and get that coal out. You know what I mean? So, we're only going to move forward if we all embrace that and get back to fundamentals and get back to basics. And the most fundamental basic thing that I've come to realize about what we got going on here is no one that founded this country ever wanted it to be a top-down country. Well, I'm not saying any of them. Some of them did. But the ones that won out were the ones that wanted it to be a bottom-up society where the things that matter most to you from a governmental standpoint are local. Your they're in your municipality, your city, your county, your region, your state, and then up to the federal government. So that the most basic thing we all have to get back to understanding is federalism. I think I talked about this in the last podcast too, but it's like I just feel like, man, we just our education system never talks about this, and so I'm a 35-year-old man that I feel like I have no just no like foundation or understanding of how the government is supposed to work, and so federalism is what the founding fathers wanted to see, right? So that means basically it's bottom up control. Well, and I think it's a very natural thing. I'll give everybody an example. My wife, she'll make fun of me as well. So I got the word Kentucky tatted on my back, right? I tell people it ain't got nothing to do with the basketball team. It ain't got nothing to do with Tim Couch. It ain't got nothing to do with any of that stuff. I got it tatted on my back because like Kentucky is me. I am I'm a Kentucky boy through and through. All the good, all the bad, all the stubbornness, all the laziness, all the balls to the wall, 100 miles an hour in whatever direction I'm going in this. Like I always tell everybody, like I'm as stereotypical Eastern Kentucky as you can get. I mean, mommy's a teacher, daddy, my biological father didn't do nothing. Like my mom went slumming. Got with a guy without a high school diploma. Got caught up, had a kid. He ran away, never paid a penny of child support. Actually, I'll take it back. I think I got some money because my mom put it in a picture album. I got a picture album with the dollar bills my dad gave me in it still. I've never spent, right? Like, mom starts dating, she's dating while I'm young. I'm raised by my grandparents. My dad dies of drug overdose. Was always like caught up drinking booze, pills, OxyContin. I mean, you literally could they could do a damn movie on my life. I mean, it'd be a boring movie, but they could do it, and everyone would be able to everybody from Appalachia would be able to relate to it, right? So, but I'm tell you all that because it's like I got tatted on my back, and no matter what, it's like if I go to if we're going to Florida on vacation, I can stop in Georgia, and I'm going in a gas station. I'm going in there with a little bit of swagger because I know I'm like, man, I'm Kentucky, man. These Georgia people, they don't even know. Man, we went to Gulf Shores this year, and I'm making sure everybody down there knows I'm from Kentucky, because for whatever reason, it's like maybe it's a southern thing. I don't think it's like that in other places. It's like Texas boys want to make sure they from Texas. Kentucky boys want to make sure they're from Kentucky. We all know them Alabama boys want you to know they're from Bama. Lord, I'm glad, and I want them to tell me too, because I need to know, right? So I can know not to trust them. That's for all my Bama buddies there. But that whole concept is federalism, right? That your state matters, and that's where the bulk of the things that affect your life are supposed to happen. Now, again, that ain't fun. That ain't sexy. You ain't gonna make no money knowing about your state's laws, or being a state rep, or being a state senator. I mean, I think these state reps make like $40,000 or something like that. But that is that's what the founding fathers wanted. So they wanted the federal government to only have specific powers. Okay. And they wanted them to focus on protecting the inalienable rights and the constitutional rights of the citizenry, right? Let's call those rights, let's call them, or those powers. Let's call those powers. Let's call this an agreement, okay? Because Bill of Rights, all those amendments, so on and so forth. That's all they are, is an agreement, okay? We're agreeing. We have 50 states now. They're agreeing to be a part of a bigger union, right? It's not that they didn't form the nation first and then started drawing lines and started divvying up power, because we all know that that wouldn't have happened if you already had everybody agree to being in one big landmass and one big country, and they were all under one person rule. No one's giving that up. It started as all these little states, 13 colonies, right? And they agreed. They came up with some agreements on how they could be a United States and be able to further the interest of all men are created equal, endowed with inalienable rights of those are life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, right? Like that's all it was. Okay. So the way I see that, and when I really think about that we made an agreement to be buddies, right? Like, but at any time we could decide to not be buddies anymore. The main things I think about are, okay, that means anytime we add more agreements, we make it harder to like stay unified because we're all so different that if 2 of the 50 are just vastly or just wholeheartedly don't agree with whatever that agreement is and didn't want to agree to it, but were pressured into it, it's going to create animosity amongst all those the state leaders and just the citizens in general, right? And so, but we also, as we add more, we make it harder to enforce the rules that our founding fathers stated these are the most important things, right? Like we make it harder to enforce those because now we have more to enforce. And then what's happened over the decades and centuries or whatever is that we've started to not enforce certain ones or start cherry picking, and it's weakened our bond and it's delegitimized our union, right? Like because every time a president gets in there and they focus on these 2 constitutional rights or these 2 things and forgets about the other ones, it delegitimizes everything. Just like, again, it's just like being a parent. You can be hard-nosed as a parent and you can make your kids sit down and eat dinner every single night. But when it comes to bedtime, if you tell them you're going to bed at 8:30, but every night you're lackadaisical about it and they're going to bed at 9, well, sooner or later, they're going to start pushing the boundaries in other aspects of that parent-child relationship, right? They're going to start getting a little mouthy when you tell them to turn the iPad off. They're going to get a little snippy on you whenever you try to tell them like they ain't getting that candy. It's because you delegitimize yourself by saying something was a law, was a rule, and you didn't follow through on it. Okay, so we got to look at ourselves as this United States, we are a team. We have 50 players on the team. We're all very different. People are in certain areas for certain reasons. Okay, like people in Kentucky love Kentucky. You got people from California that couldn't imagine sleeping a day in Kentucky because they think we're all hillbillies and stupid out here. You got people in Kentucky that think everybody in California is all hippies and tree hugging liberals and all that, and like neither of those things are completely true about either place. I mean, I'm pretty hillbilly and dumb and don't wear shoes a lot and all that stuff, but neither here nor there. Point being, like, what are our fundamentals? What are our basics? What are we trying to accomplish? Are we literally just flying by the seat of our pants and trying to like punch down on the other side of the aisle whenever our guys are the president? Are we trying to say get some and like just put it to the other team? Because if we're not looking at each other as one team, then like there's no point. Okay, but I think it also some things have been falling apart because historically we did kind of gather and we gathered and made sure we were surrounded by people that were like-minded. And so I think back when states' rights were a focus, that was that's why I think Texas has so much Texas pride, because Texas people, like if you move to Texas or live in Texas, you know why you're in Texas. Sorry, y'all heard my kid up there screaming, but you're a Texas person. It's because Texas has a reputation of doing things the way Texas does things. Well, as things have become more nationalized and we've expected the president and the U.S. government to do everything for us, we didn't have to move to be around our people or to like protect our own our close knit community and culture, and we weren't able to for not being able to say it a better way, we weren't able to root out people that didn't fit into our morals and values, and like not that those people were bad people, just that they didn't fit. I don't live in Southeast Kentucky anymore. I don't think that I totally fit in Southeast Kentucky, so I moved out and I've found somewhere that I felt like the morals and values and things like that are closer aligned, and where I had a little more opportunity and all that stuff. But as things became nationalized, we stopped looking at things as small communities and just started thinking, well, if I live in Middlesboro, Kentucky, it should be the exact same as what it is in San Francisco, California, right? And vice versa. People in San Francisco literally think people in Middlesboro, Kentucky, right, Harlan, Kentucky, should have to live under the same rule, like every single rule of law that they do, right? That's what they think there. And I think there's some of that goes on, in other places or whatever. So we got to get back to where we're looking at our union as a union of a bunch of states and not one big union that allows people to be states. We are states first, right? We need to have pride in Kentucky, pride in Tennessee, pride in New York, pride in Ohio. That's where we got to start. Okay, then we got to go back and we got to realize. And this was crazy to me as I started realizing this. There was a huge portion of our founding fathers. They didn't even want to have a Bill of Rights. Okay, some people would think that would be because they wanted the government to be able to they didn't want the government to be limited to certain things. It's like, no, they were afraid that even putting those things down on paper, right, and enumerating specific rights that people had would lead people to believe that those were the only rights people had. They literally wanted everyone to understand, if it wasn't in this Constitution right here, if it wasn't in this book written down, the government had no purview or no reason even to opine on the subject, because it was left to the states. And so federalism also meant that there was going to be a marketplace, right? We are a free market economy. We're a free market culture, right? When you have a right to freedom of speech and you can say whatever the hell you want to say, as dumb as it may be, or as naive as it may be, or as liberal or conservative or blasphemous as it may be, like when you have that right, that means that you're going to have the marketplace of ideas is going to be wide open. And so all 50 of those states also kind of become a little bit of a petri dish, or it's like their own little experiment. Instead of enacting a law at a federal level and putting 330 million people underneath its rule, you have all these little marketplaces of legislation and ideas and concepts, and where things can be tried out to see if they work. And if they don't, if something doesn't work, they can be taught. If it's only affecting the people in this one city, there's 20,000 people, and it's a lot easier to scrap something that's affecting 20,000 than something that's affecting 320 million. All right, but again, that ain't easy. That ain't sexy. There ain't a whole lot of glory in it. We're talking about grinding it out, at a local level. But that's what they wanted. That's what the founding fathers wanted. So again, they wanted it. They didn't even want the Bill of Rights in there. And just to give you, this is crazy. Again, I know people get, start thinking certain types of way about you. Start talking about Constitution and all that. But again, it's like I just think about myself. In fact, I'm a history major, and I have a degree in history, a bachelor's degree in history. I'd never really sat in and read the Constitution. Like, to me, that's just, it baffles me. So the Ninth Amendment to the Constitution, the enumeration in this Constitution of certain rights. So the fact that we wrote down certain rights and stated these out shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. So this was such an important thing to them, such an important concept. They put it in the document that ain't very long, and said just because we listed these out does not mean these are your only rights, because we still listed out all the powers the government has, and we just wrote because we were trying to get some people to sign up on the team here. We were willing to put some of them down on paper, rights that you have, but if it ain't listed in here that it's a power of the federal government, assume it's your right. Assume it's yours. The power lies in the people in regards to that subject. Okay, so there's that. If we can all start there and realize that, then we can move. Then we can start moving forward. Okay. Then we have to realize they also put in a process to where if we want to add something, if we want to add a right or add a power or whatever to this Constitution, they knew it was 1787 then, and it was one day going to be 2022, and things might be different. So they said if times change and they need to change it, there's a process. Okay. And that process, for lack of a better word, just trying to keep this in layman's terms here, they made it hard on purpose. We got to stop thinking that anything in life is supposed to be easy. Nothing in life is going to be easy. Parenting ain't easy. Budgeting ain't easy. Filing bankruptcy ain't easy. Deciding what you're going to do for dinner tonight when you got 4 kids like I do, that crap, man, it ain't easy. Going to church every Sunday ain't easy. Being vulnerable. Telling your wife you're sorry. Like, nothing in life's easy. And that's okay. We're living and breathing. Like, it pumps me up thinking that like stuff's gonna be hard. Why are we here if it's not going to be? We'll get to be in heaven later, right? But again, this is America. Maybe in other places, maybe they want to rest on our laurels and sit in a recliner and I'll do whatever. Want to live in like Wall-E world. If y'all ever watch the cartoon Wall-E, I do not want to live there. Right? I like stuff being hard. Okay. So they made it hard on purpose, but it's not really that hard. Okay. They either 2/3 of the states have to call on Congress to hold a constitutional convention. Okay. And that process has never been utilized. But it's there where the amendment can start in the states. What's always happened though is Congress has proposed amendments, and those amendments have to pass 2/3 of both chambers of Congress, so 66%. I know people hate the filibuster, but guys, if we don't have something like that, we just go back and forth, and we can't live like that. We can't live if every time we turn around, it's just 51 votes in the Senate makes shit get overturned. Like, it's unsustainable. Life like that is unsustainable. So it was hard on purpose. They got 66 out of 100 votes in the Senate, and then whatever 66% of the House, would be, what's in 270, half of it or whatever. So they got to do that. Then they have to call a convention of states. They have to call at least 2/3 of the state legislatures have to be notified, but then not until after 75% of state legislatures ratify that amendment is that amendment actually turned into law and put into the Constitution. So there's a process. It isn't easy, okay? Like, wah. It's there, and it's like that for a reason, okay? Like, tell my youth football guys, if it was easy to win in football, everybody be playing football, okay? But it ain't, and that's why, like, if you're a football player and you're a young man, young boy, you should take a lot of pride in playing that sport because you got to put in a ton of work, ton of sweat, ton of tears, make a ton of sacrifice. The junk is hard, and that's what's beautiful about it. Okay, so they did it on purpose. They wanted it to be hard on purpose. You know, we got to stop thinking that anything is supposed to be easy. Okay, so we've established all that. But we're staying true to this. Let's get back to basics. Okay, let's get back to basics. Government's role, federal government, that is, if it's in that book, you have two responsibilities basically. Okay, you have to make sure that states aren't violating the agreements that they signed up for 250 years ago inside this Constitution right here, or that has been amended since then. Because again, we've already established it's hard to get an amendment passed. So if you get an amendment passed, like not just a majority, a vast majority of people wanted it to pass. 75% of states. Okay, so your job as a federal government is to make sure states aren't violating anything that's in here. Number one. Number two, in my opinion, is like you are enacting. You're using your power to try to further advance those principles of, all men are created equal and have inalienable rights of those are to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Other than that, we got to stop thinking Donald Trump or Joe Biden or whoever is going to get gas prices down, or that is their responsibility. We have to stop thinking that we have to sit back and wait on what the Supreme Court says on such and such, because we all know it can take years for them to do that. Because all we got to do is go to this right here. Okay. So the government's there to protect. They're there to protect us and protect our rights within this Constitution. And we got to stop electing people that think this is more of a framework to show them how they have to maneuver around and how they need to the words and bend the rules around to where they can like impose their will on other people. We have to stop that. Stop thinking that's that's how it is. So again, that brings us back to what has transpired over the last couple of weeks. So if we get back to basics and we realize the government's supposed to protect us and make sure that the rights in that book, in that Constitution, are not being violated, then you can realize like that right to bear arms, the New York case where they said New York couldn't institute certain laws. If it wasn't in this book, I wouldn't agree with it. Okay, when they overturned Roe versus Wade and said you don't have a constitutional right to an abortion, to kill your child or whatever. If it was in this book, I wouldn't support that decision. Okay, I will say this. I don't believe they have the constitutional authority at this time to ban it. I don't want them to do that. I want the marketplace of ideas, the marketplace of state legislatures to do what they were meant to do, right? And it's one of the things about abortion. It's like, as heinous as it is, if every state can make their own laws pertaining to certain things, then we can find the group of people that align with our morals and values the easiest. I just want to know. If you don't like what Kentucky does, you can move. If you don't like what California does, you can move. But we got to know where we stand and know what the parameters are. Now, one of the things about Second Amendment or abortion or whatever, like, it's one of those deals where I'm afraid it's an issue where it's no one's going to be okay with that, because it's like, if you believe it's murder, you believe it's murder. So it's like, can you agree to be on the team with people that you believe are murdering children? Like, I don't know that that's sustainable either. But at the same time, like, on the flip side, the left thinks that if you are a Second Amendment supporter, that you are also a child murderer because a gun was used to shoot kids in schools. So you must, like, anyone who believes in the Second Amendment is a child murderer as well. I mean, it's like, if they really believe that, I don't know how we bring that, back to the middle. But maybe we just stop focusing on those things that are they're so extreme, and it's just, we can, at least for now, let bygones be bygones, and, like, let state legislatures handle it and go where people align with our values the best, right? But there's some other places that I think we could, make some ground. And if we would get back to basics, and this is where I try to tell people, listen, I am a registered Republican, but I ain't your granddaddy's Republican. I ain't a country club Republican. I don't necessarily believe in this trickle down economic, crap. I've been in the mud. I've seen some broke ass people. I've been a broke ass dude. I've seen racism. I've seen prejudice. I've been not a victim of it. There's been times in my life where I have been a violator of it. I think I'm a better man today than I was. It's like, but you don't know what you don't know when you're a little kid and you don't have a father around to help you, like, become a better person and steward you. And so, but on this thought of getting back to basics, because we're not focused on basics and we're not expecting our government to be focused on basics, very basic things that they should be doing in here, they're not doing. Okay, I keep saying this, I'm not a traditional Republican. I'm a populist, for whatever. I'm sure there's probably some negative connotations there, but I am. I'm America first. I believe we got 320 million people here. We need to worry about here first. Okay, I think if you're Andy Beshear or Ron DeSantis or Greg Abbott, you should be Texas first or Florida first or Kentucky first. I get, like, sick in my stomach seeing local money get shipped elsewhere to help people that you'll never know, right? Like, that may sound terrible, but if everyone would take care of the people closest to them, because no matter where you live, there's people around you that are living in extreme poverty. Like, but if we were helping the people closest to us and becoming a community and getting into, like, gutter together, maybe we'd have a little bit more camaraderie, a little bit more love for one another, a little bit more of a bond, to, like, say, like, hey man, that guy, he's rich and he's driving that Range Rover, but he came down here into Harlan County, Kentucky, or came to the West End of Louisville and didn't just, like, drop off a bag of money. He came down here and, like, he hands out dinner at a homeless shelter, or white guy from the East End of Louisville. Every now and then he'll go to the West End and go to a Black Baptist church just to know the community, and vice versa. But, like, we got to get back to fundamentals where we're caring about one another, inside out, closest to us. And if we do that, we can start demanding our government do what it's supposed to do, which is protect the stuff in this book. So let's just go through a couple of these other things here. Just talk about freedom of speech. There's no way anybody in this country thinks that our government is protecting the First Amendment. Right now, the public square has never been scarier for people to, like, say what they want to say, and it's not because they don't want to say it. It's because they know they'll say it once and they'll get canceled, and they can't, they won't get to participate any longer. Like if somebody has a stupid idea, I want them to be able to say it so they can get feedback, and like grow from that, right? So get the First Amendment, Second Amendment, right to bear arms. Everywhere you go, you start, it's like I'm already seeing this. The Supreme Court ruled on this, and people are like, well, they're two-faced. They won't let women have abortions, but they're telling states they can't enact these laws because it says in here, one of the agreements we made was if we're going to live in this country, everyone has to have a right to bear arms. And people in Virginia said, listen, we ain't going to be on a team with you New York people, with you yuppies, if you ain't going to say the people in your state can have a right to bear arms. We won't sign up in the first place. We won't pay the registration fee if you aren't willing to agree with that. So, but we can expect them to do that if they're not spending time on everything else. Okay, let's jump in here to Fourth Amendment. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures. This shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath of affirmation, yada, yada. Hey, Republicans, guess what? I want to tell you something. You want to show people y'all are the real deal? Go out there and get on the front lines for the Fourth Amendment. This thing is getting violated on a daily basis, hourly basis, minute by minute basis in our poorest communities, where people are getting pulled over and there's drug use going on and all that. Like, for people's Fourth Amendment rights, you have that Fourth Amendment right is yours. Our leaders expect our police officers to violate it constantly to get them stats, baby. But because we're listening to all the other noise and stuff, we can't even focus. We're not even focusing on these bare bones, like things that are going to change your life the most. It's like you spend $10,000 on a truck, it ain't gonna matter to you in a month. You spend $5,000 on getting LASIK surgery, and you went from having terrible vision, and now you can see you got 20/20 vision. Your life is gonna change. Well, if we want to change a large, many millions of people's lives, let's guarantee them that Fourth Amendment right, and stop letting their vehicles get searched just because they get, pulled over for a tail light being out or whatever. We can't focus on that if we're focused on if we're focused on whether or not men can have babies. In the public square, we're talking about can dudes have babies, while people are getting just because they're poor and live in the West End of Louisville and they got a $500 rolled up in a rubber band in their pocket. Well, they don't have a Fourth Amendment right anymore. We're gonna take that. We're gonna take that money. We think it's drug money. Doesn't matter if it is, or if we have anything to prove it. Otherwise, even if you get off in a couple months when you finally get the trial, we ain't giving it all back to you because we had to spend some money to, pay for people to be on staff and administration. So we're only going to give you $300 back of that $500, even though you can't get a bank account because the bank won't give you a bank account because your credit score isn't high enough. Again, so we can't even talk about this stuff. We're talking about this other stuff that doesn't matter, right? So, but we talk about something else. How about the Sixth Amendment here? In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial. We have people that are locked up, can't afford their bail. Be a year, 2 years before they get a trial. Well, you know why it takes that long? Because our court system's so jammed up with nonsense that we can't even fulfill one of the 10 most basic rights you have as an American, which is a speedy trial. Okay, there's that. And then how about the Eighth Amendment? Let's go read the Eighth Amendment here real quick. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. There ain't a Republican, a Democrat, a libertarian, a Christian, a Muslim, or a Jew, anybody that can look me in the eye and say that we aren't violating that amendment every single day, hundreds of thousands of times by requiring excessive bail of our citizens. Just cause it ain't excessive, you don't mean it ain't excessive to someone else, right? Like, you have a right to be, you're innocent until proven guilty in this country. We can't even focus on that because we're fighting about, again, whether or not we're going to let boys use little girls' bathrooms. We're fighting over whether we'll have pornography in our elementary school libraries. Why? We can't even do this. Like, in this little book, it's only 30 pages of it is even anything. There is 57 pages in this. Only 32 of them are actual words of the Constitution. The rest of it's index and everything. So, we can't even do this. But we're talking about all this other stuff. So, again, we got to get back to basics. And I do think this past couple of weeks has been a win as far as the Supreme Court goes with all the stuff that's been happening, because their rulings have been based on this. Is it in our purview or is it not? And if it's not in our purview as a power, is it in our purview that all U.S. citizens have a right to it, a constitutional right to it, so we have to protect it against state governments overstepping something in here? Right? So that's all they're saying. They're saying you can't impede people's right to bear arms because it's in the Constitution. You can make a law on abortion if you want. You can make it legal up until the baby's born if you want. It's not in our purview. You can also ban it. It's not in our purview. Like, that's what they said. They also stated that we can't just enact these unilateral 3-letter agencies like the EPA that come in and just, for whatever political faction is stepping in and just impose their will on people without enacting laws. We have entire industries, the coal industry, the oil industry, that are literally being governed by people that no one ever elected to do anything, let alone do that kind of stuff. All right, but we also, because we're not back to basics, we can't focus on our school boards because we're so worried about our president, because in the moment the president does seem like he has so much power that why on God's green earth would I worry about my school board? Because this president could tell CPS to come lock me up because I don't want to let my 8-year-old tell me he's a girl and have surgery to remove his private parts. Like, when you have to worry about that, how can you worry about your school board? All right. And so, again, I say all this stuff and I'm talking all this trash about America, whatever, but it's not really what it is. I'm not talking trash. What I'm saying is we've convoluted it so much and we've gotten so far off track, but it ain't that hard to get back on track. Because this is one thing I can't wait till me and Pink can do another show. This is why we do the shows, because when we sit down as human beings, as individuals, and we talk about this stuff, very rarely are we that far apart. Right? Like, it's like we have already, him and I have discussed this, thoroughly. We don't know anyone who, when talking about abortion, is like wanting to, or thinking that people should be allowed to kill babies just because they want to. Right? You have people over here that are having a conversation about women's rights, and people over here they're talking about children. So you're having a different conversation. So when you get in the room and have the same conversation, very rarely, we feel like we don't disagree that much on things. So I'm not talking trash about America, because this document, the more I dig into it, the more beautiful it is. Right? We have a lot to live up to. We haven't done, but like, we're still a union today, even though we have violated this thing over and over again, day in and day out. We're still the United States of America. We ended slavery here. Right? We got we have made huge strides of getting over this idea that one race is better than the other, or is smarter than the other, or one is, like, they shouldn't be able to love one another. We have moved past a lot of, like, not fully past it, right? There's still people out there that think stuff. There's still disgusting people out in the world. We're never going to get rid of that. But culturally, we've changed how we feel about things, and our politics have changed accordingly, right? And so people don't like politics being downstream from culture, because changing culture takes time. You have to win the war of ideas and have conversations and be vulnerable and be uncomfortable and be up late and get your blood pressure up, and you got to walk it and not just talk it. And politicians can just talk it. So I'm not, hopefully this podcast doesn't come off as a negative, or that there's nowhere to go from here. It's just that hopefully this podcast gets you to realize we literally have the blueprint right here, and it would be super easy. We just all have to, we just need everybody to go in here and read through some of this and say, like, realize ain't nobody asking you if you're signing up for it. We're just asking, everybody just needs to read it and realize this is the rules of the game. No one's asking you to play. You're a player. You got a Social Security card. You're a U.S. citizen, right? But if you don't like it, you can change it. And if I don't like how you're trying to change it, I know what process I have to protect to keep you from changing it. And if I lose, I lose. If we stay true to this document, it'll mean that the culture drove the politics, and the times moved past me. And at the end of the day, I don't getting back to the 4th of July, the Independence Day thing here. I don't think people fought and died. I don't think my grandfather fought in World War II because he wanted everything to be easy over here and everybody just to be, happy, smiley, eating cupcakes every day. I think he fought, and I think we've got other family members that have fought, living, and ones that have died, and ones that are dead, and all that. I think they, like, the brass tacks level, that's why they fought, so that we could all partake in this ugly, drawn out, somewhat, chaotic, nasty process that's known as the American experiment. Okay, in Canada, you can't say what you want to say. I hate listening to other country people opine on American rights, because we don't want to be England. I don't want to be Canada or Mexico or Russia, or I don't want to be those. I think we are better than, our form of government is better. The individual people, no, we're not any better than any other individual, but our governmental concepts and principles are better. So I don't care what they have to say. If they think it's mean that we have freedom of speech, or they think it's dumb that we can have firearms, or I don't care. They don't like those leaders that don't like our freedoms over here, because it limits the power of the government, and they're in power and they want it. But again, marketplace of ideas. You don't like Second Amendment, go live in England. Go live in Canada. This is America. We do it different. And so tomorrow, I hope all y'all have a great day. I hope y'all tip back a couple brewskis. Tip your hat. Cheer to all those around you. Hope tonight you pray for all the people that you disagree with, that you think you don't like. Maybe you don't, but listen, they're your fellow Americans. Pray that they'll find peace and happiness, and that good things will happen to them, and all that, all that good stuff. We don't need to live in harmony. We just need to accept the playing ground, the battlefield that we're on. And we have to realize, and we have to agree on the fact that we all, if nothing else, want to uphold the rule of law and just do what's in that book at whatever time it's in there. If we all have to agree what the rules of the game are. If we want to change something, here's how it is. Okay, like that's really all we got to do. We don't have to like one another. Certainly don't have to love one another. We don't have to high five and hug and break bread together. We don't have to do any of that. We just got to respect each other. We got to wish well on one another, and we got to all buy into this concept that we're all like on the same team and we're grinding, baby. And that's what's awesome about it. The grind in life is what makes life worth living. When I lose some sleep, and I don't get good enough sleep, man, it makes me want to go harder, even harder the next day, because I want to be like, all right, I'm getting tested. Ask anybody y'all know that knows me. You're going to see John Ross Marcus Cox running down 22 over here about 4:30 in the day. I literally look on my Weather Channel app, and I see when the hottest time of the day is going to be. And that's when I'm going on my run. And then I'm still going to coach football, balls to the wall. And then ask my boys out there if I'm going hard in the paint or not during football practice. Again, not because it's easy. I'm out there because I know everybody can't do it. So I'm going to do it. Just to prove to myself, prove to my kids, my wife, that I'm about it. That I'm about it, that I'm about that life, that I got what it takes. So when the shit really does hit the fan, they know, like, Daddy ain't going nowhere. And I do it because I need to show myself that on a small level every day, because I don't know what it's like for the father that's got his blood running through his veins to stick around. So I got to prove it to myself. And again, I'm not, it's like I could play a victim. I could very easily be a victim when it comes to that and be like, oh, woe is me. But I'm like, man, for whatever reason, God just thought it was like, that was like a obstacle, like a point of adversity that like I needed to overcome. Was like not having a biological father in the house. And he gave me a stepdad. It's a damn good stepdad, and I'm thankful for him. He's about the Eastern Kentucky you can get to. We're still working in coal mines, and he's a bigger, better man than I am, certainly. So yeah, again, happy 4th of July. Let's celebrate freedom. Celebrate those other words I talked about. Let's celebrate freedom. Let's celebrate country, our duty to one another, to be good people and to do the little things in life right, to raise our kids up not to be assholes. Okay? To like get our kids to church to pray with them. The like duty to answer the call if something were to happen and we were to be in some kind of world war. Right? Let's celebrate honor. Let's celebrate loyalty and being loyal to the people that are closest to us and that deserve our loyalty, that help us with our kids, and that love on our kids when we ain't around when they could be mean to them, that open up their homes to our children. Let's celebrate our values. Okay, I do think right now in America our values are much different across the country, but let's still, those of us, people I know have the same values as I do. I want to celebrate those people. Okay, and the fact that they are God-fearing, hard-working, faulted people, and are willing to admit their faults. Let's celebrate hard work. Let's celebrate perseverance. Celebrate family. Celebrate freedom. Let's celebrate somebody spent some time to put this document together. And we've had millions and millions of people fight and die for that document over there, whether they realized what it was or not. Let's celebrate that. Let's celebrate the fact we live in a hectic time in history where we really don't know how things are going to turn out in the next year or 2, 5 years. But let's celebrate that we're in the fight. We have the opportunity to like have a voice in it. I can promise y'all right now, 7 months ago, it was proven to me how simple and how simple it is to have an impact, and how much of an impact we can have as individuals if we just engage in the system and get focused and stop complaining about the fact that, yes, it's extra work. If you'll do it, you can make an impact. Let's celebrate that. Okay, so again, all y'all that have served in the military, armed service, police officers, firefighters, all that, first responder stuff, thank y'all for your service. All y'all good people, good politicians that have been in office for years and years, or that just got in or whatever, and you've been doing so all along without having the people really engaged. Thank you for holding down the fort for us to wake up. I know I'm awake now. I think we got hundreds of thousands. I think we got millions of people that have been woken up in the last 2 years. And I hope that I'm able to advance that a little bit. I think in this show, we have some big things planned, big topics. Yesterday I was at a little neighborhood thing here in Louisville, little firework thing, and like it was amazing to me how many people would come up to me and recognize me from doing these videos. And it's because like it's just I've chose to continue doing them, regardless of the fact that I'm not famous and they're not real good. I'm doing it, right? But like I'm also seeing all kinds of people that I know along the way have been putting in as much work in different ways, and we're starting to meet each other and know each other. So it doesn't even matter if we know the politician that's walking down the sidewalk or not. We know each other, and we know we're making an impact, and we know we're putting in the work, and we're grinding. And so all y'all that have been passing laws and trying to protect us, knowing that we are ignorant and like what about it, well, no, we are now. And it's beautiful to see, and I do think we are headed in the right direction. We needed stuff to get absolutely terrible in this country. We needed Andy Bashir to tell us we couldn't go to church. By God, I've been in church since a week after that. If it was up to me, our state legislature would pass something saying that, hey, I don't care if there's a black plague, a fountain of black plague in the middle of the worship room, in the middle of the congregation. The government can't tell you if you can go to church or not. If it's up to me, that's what it'd say. Because I think that supports what's in this book. This book, not something I made up. So we're awake. All right, we as normal people, we're going to be talking about all kinds of these issues when it comes to parental rights, medical autonomy, all like bodily autonomy, curriculum, all like we're going to dig into this stuff, and it's going to scare them to death, people. I'm just going to tell y'all, it's going to scare them. And I like it. I'm excited about it. But we got to support each other. We got to be positive about it. You can be combative, and we can, you can fight. You can fight in a positive way, right? But we're gonna need everybody's input. We're gonna need the people that are wanting to call out politicians and wanting to, go at it from a, like a sniper type mentality. And we're gonna need other people that are coming at it, even because, as a redneck, people think I'm gonna be, hot-headed and have a short temper and be spouting off the mouth or whatever. So I can't be like that. I got to be a pragmatic person. I got to be positive, and I got to shock you in a different way. But that's how I shock people, is I make, I'm going to show y'all that even somebody that looks as dumb as I do with a beard and long hair and talks like I don't even know what to say. It ain't Southern, it ain't whatever. It's Appalachian, baby. A dude from Appalachia with a dad that drive a drug overdose with a high school diploma can put his nose in a book and figure some stuff out. All right, so I need y'all. It's like always, like, share, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Find me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, all that. Anywhere if you want to listen to the audio, will be on there. Video wise, right here on YouTube, Facebook Live, you can find me. Again, happy 4th of July, everybody. Get out there, enjoy them fireworks, enjoy your families, enjoy your children. Hug and squeeze them, give them a kiss, tell them you love them. Like that's what your great grandfathers and grandmothers that put it on the line would want you to do. All right, so thanks for watching. Hopefully, me and old Pink will have a show coming up this week. Miss him; he's going through some stuff. Everybody keep him in your thoughts and prayers, and but love that guy, and he's said he just has so many great things to say and so many important things to say, and the conversations that we're trying to have, I just think they're so important. So hopefully we can start making this more of a regular thing, and so you all can kind of know what's coming and all that. So again, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, love you guys, and God bless America.